content of this channel is for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. Please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification button. And please, feel free to share the video. Thank you.
What's good, everybody? You know how I be, man. I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. This is the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers, man. Before I get things moving, you know, like I always do. Hold on, let me go back to the game mode, man. I'm tripping. Before I get started, man, I want to give a shout out to the haters. Because I know it's going to be some haters that's coming in. And they're going to have something to say. But shout out to y'all. Hope you're having a pleasant afternoon, a good evening, whatever. Alright. Also, you know, if you're coming in, man, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, man. Make sure you do that. Also, you know, I got to give a shout out to all the members of the Green Gorilla channel, as I customarily do before I get things started. And I want to shout out to all the people out there in the chat right now. I'll give you all a shout out first. Winston Tukisa, or Tokuhisa, sorry. That's Heru Aten Patah. That's Odd Khaled, Javon Thompson, and Rasheed Barnes. Appreciate y'all, man, for dropping by and checking me out. And, you know, for all the people that support me on YouTube, and be honest, I see you just chimed in. I want to give a shout out to Black Uhuru Strikes. Shout out to Dr. Thunder, Dr. Tree 33, Rais Muajid, Leroy Honeycutt, Show Me, The Thinker, Broken Blade, Javon Thompson, and Life of Commerce. Big up to y'all. Big up to Travis King, Supertech, Waffle Weave, Kisses From Afar, 77 Base X, Brian McMurray, Apex Prowler, Karan S, Anthony Davis, BGS Ibmore, and Raphael Brown. Big up, man. Big up to Professor Carlton Jones, Artisan MC, Damon Brown, Donnell 360, Herbert Lewis, Seven Coast Dojo, Rogus Sun, Pulpit 28, Michael Ross, Charles Rogers, and Papa Didas. Big up. Big up to B. Hillfire, Rick Ross, Sandra Jean 955, Brotherly Love 215, Charles Gilmore 3, Patricia Colley, 7Q Pit, Kwaku Asasi, Gregory Oliver, Greg, and Barry Little. Big up. Big up to Alan Wiley, Mr. Valentino, Jason Hales, Black Men Being Brutally Honest, Omni Americana, Cameron 87, Deshaun Nolly, Brian Peaks, Nelso, Kareem Not Karen, and Doc LaRock. Big up. Big up to Jay Charles, Mark Holt, Lee Ways, Jeffrey Speed, The Face, Mark Swift, Odd Khaled, Donald Watts, Cozy Corner, HipHop.CATV, and Coach DC. Big up. Big up to Kashif Caldwell, Nichita, Mr. Blue Collar, Barnolas, I'm Just Jules, TD Hip Hop Media, Drew Main, Mr. Heat, Sir Anthony, and ML Law. Big up. Big up to Universal 178, Blacksword 404, Rasheed Barnes, Aaron Smith, DH, C-Truth the Revelator, Gold Professor, Aaron Infinite, Dr. Tiasan Johnson, Kalanja Kala, Ricky Dawson, Cedric Bowman, True 7360, BK Born Shaheed, James Washington, Hostile Adept, W. Pierre 1, and Marvin Battle Jr. And oh, I can't forget my brother in heaven, Force Windu. Big up to y'all, man. And I can't forget the people on the Patreon side. Kevin Marchbank Owens, William Joyner, Javon Thompson, Tyrone Hampton, Jules Winfield, Romello Scuggs, Darnell Smith, Excalibur, Jason Warren, Anu219, Pursuer Prisoner, Taz, Dragon 59, Supreme Ibmore, Adrian Hicks, Jay Bailey, Mr. Michi, Mo Mal, and a sing. Well, big up to y'all, man. Big up to y'all, man. Y'all deserve a round of applause, of course. And if you're curious about how you can support the Green Gorilla channel, man, here's how you do it. What's good, everybody? I'm the G with a PhD, and you're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel, the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up, no chaser. Today, I want to introduce you to my new membership program that consists of 5 levels where you can invest in the Green Gorilla channel on a monthly basis and receive level-specific perks. Memberships are special because they improve the quality of the content of the channel and will help me to be able to keep the channel going. Now, to participate in the Green Gorilla channel membership program, all you have to do is hit the join button, which is located right next to the subscribe button on my channel page. Now, for all of my subscribers who decide not to participate in my membership program, nothing will change. The content will keep coming the way it always has. Thanks for watching, and be careful out here, people. Bless. All right, man, we back. You know who I be, man. I'm GG. You're tuned in to the Green Gorilla channel. It is the place where black men can express themselves freely, straight up with no chasers, man. And so, if you're easily triggered, this might be the spot where you get off the train. Because, you know, some of the things I say might trigger some people, especially today. So, you know, I just want people to know that, you know, some things that I say today may be, you know, seemingly insensitive or whatever the case may be. I'm just letting you know. Okay? So, if you're, you know, one of them people who, you know, are prone to fainting, you might want to back up. Okay? Now, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I mean, I'm trying to be real. Okay? And, you know, this subject is something I talked about at least twice before. So, you know, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but, you know, this is going to be the end of it. I have something to say about it. And then after that, I'm done with it. Just like Chappelle said he was done with the jokes, you know, related to the LGBTQ community. I'm going to be done with talking about Dave Chappelle and this issue after this. I'm not going to revisit it after this. I might have it, you know, in terms of passing conversation, but that's as far as I'll go with that. That's as far as I, you know, intend to cover this subject. So, you know, let me stop the music here, man. Let me stop the music. So, you know, everybody, for the most part, is aware of what's going on with Dave Chappelle. He came out with a new special, whatever the case may be. But, you know, people have reacted quite differently to the whole affair, to the whole, you know, special, the closer, okay? So I just want to read something to you before I even begin. And it's an article from the Associated Press. Let me enlarge it a little bit so it can be more legible. People who are here. So you see this picture here, Black Trans Lives Matter. And, you know, I don't know, trans issues, I guess, are not funny. I guess that's what that's saying. I don't know. And then, I mean, there's just a number of photos that, you know, you can kind of scroll through, 1 of 14. I'm going to accept these cookies here and try to, I don't want to go too far off, man, here. But you see it. So anyway, it's an article from the Associated Press. And basically, it says that, you know, Netflix employees who walked out Wednesday, and today is Friday, so this was a couple of days ago, okay? Netflix employees who walked out Wednesday in protest of Dave Chappelle's special and his anti-transgender comments were joined by allies who chanted, "Trans Lives Matter," getting pushback from counter-protesters who also showed up. A pre-noon rally at a Netflix office studio complex drew about 100 people, most on the side of an estimated 30 workers at the streaming giant that joined in afterward. Some were willing to identify themselves as Netflix employees, but all declined to provide their names. Joey Soloway, creator of the groundbreaking Emmy-winning comedy Transparent, was among the speakers at the rally. Chappelle's decision to share his outrage as comedic humiliation in front of thousands of people and then broadcasting it to hundreds of millions of people is infinitely amplified gender violence, they said. Now, man, I'm just going to come out and say it, man. I'm just so tired of trans activists and LGBTQ activists arguing that violence is being amplified when people are critical of their politics. People who are critical of your politics doesn't necessarily lead to violence towards you. I'm just sick of hearing this argument. It's a slippery slope argument. The argument is somebody criticizes you, then it leads to violence. That's absolute bullshit, man. Really. It's absolute bullshit. And I'm tired of hearing that argument, man. That argument basically is an argument which they use to thwart any critique of them whatsoever. So they argue that any, opposition to any viewpoint that they have in and of itself is something that leads to the overwhelming death of their constituents or people who belong to their political activist group or their identity group. I'm tired of hearing that. I'm a black man and I'm tired of hearing that. I'm like, honestly, up to the point right now where this is absolute nonsense, okay? And I'm going to prove that it is. And then he says, well, I want trans representation on the Netflix board this effing week, the writer-director said. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that this guy, is using this show here, the closer, this event as a means by which to propel themselves forward so that they can get more resources. This is what this to me boils down to. You claim violence, you claim a hate crime, and then you ask to be more included in goodies, gimmies, and grabbles. That's what that's all about to me, okay? So then it goes on to say Ashley Marie Preston, an activist and the event's organizer, addressed the rally and spoke to the Associated Press afterward. She said that calling out Chappelle for his remarks wasn't enough. So the first thing, this is what they call out culture. We're going to call you out. And because we called you out, we want something in reparations for it. We want something in retribution for it. Okay? So anyway, it was important to shift the focus to the people that signed the checks because Dave Chappelle doesn't sign checks. Netflix does, Preston said. If we have companies like Netflix who aren't listening to their employees, who are forcing their employees to participate in their own oppression, that's unacceptable. So again, the language of oppression is being utilized. And, I'm just saying, look, I'm pretty sure that these people don't have an easy life, but in relation to oppression, critiquing a group in jest, openly, in like straight syllogistic dialogue, that's not oppression to me. Now, I mean, some of the things that they go through, might be difficult again, but this whole oppression routine, man, I'm getting tired of it, okay? That's just my honest to goodness truth, okay? That's just the honest to goodness truth to me. And I will explain why, okay? But I want to get through the article so I can make it clear where these people are coming from, and then I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from, okay? We're here to keep people accountable. We're not going anywhere, she said, adding that efforts are underway to start dialogue with Netflix executives. There were a few moments of shoving and pushing among the competing demonstrators, but the conflict was mostly limited to a war of words. Okay? Leia Figueroa, a student from LA, doesn't work at Netflix, but says she wanted to back the walkout. While the streaming service offers positive fare for the LGBTQ community, she said, it's having it both ways by also offering a show like Chappelle's that includes disparaging comments about trans women. If Netflix wants to be an apolitical platform, then they should be that. But how can they be apolitical when if they put something like The Closer out there and then they have shows that basically allow those persons in that community to express themselves and to, push their viewpoints forward? How can they be apolitical? You want them to actually be political. You want them to side with you all politically. That's just the truth. Okay, so anyway, but they're saying things like Black Lives Matter and we don't stand for transphobia. If you say things like that, then you have to be vetting all of your content to reflect your values. As she spoke, a protester shouted, "We like jokes." I like funny jokes, and transphobia is not a joke, Figueroa replied. But Lisa Cohen, a former journalist, said she was on hand to support Netflix's decision not to pull the special. She says, we want to show that there isn't unanimous support about transgender ideology when it comes to Netflix viewers. She was among about a dozen people who carried placards reading "Free speech is a right" and "Truth is not transphobic." Opposite them were those carrying signs that included "Black Trans Lives Matter" and "Transphobia is not funny." Elliot Page, who stars in Netflix's The Umbrella Academy and is transgender, tweeted that he stands with the trans, non-binary, and people of color working at Netflix who are fighting for more and better trans stories and a more inclusive workspace or workplace. Okay? Now, this is the funny thing, man. Like, these people are lumping a whole host of people together. Like, okay, I stand for trans, non-binary, and people of color. Like, we're all in like this unanimous consensus holding community. Like, we all stand together on every issue. And that's just nonsense to me. But this is a means by which people from the trans community are linking their plight to that of Native Americans, Black Americans, the Jews, the whole nine. So, I mean, it's a way to gain oppression points. That's the way I perceive this, okay? Like, what trans people have undergone is similar in nature to what African Americans, Native Americans, and the Jews have gone through historically. I just don't see it. But that's just my viewpoint. Okay? So anyway, Team Trans, which identifies itself as supporting trans people working at Netflix, trying to build a better world for our community, posted what it calls a list of asks being made of Netflix by trans and non-binary workers and allies at the company. They're calling on the company to repair its relationships with staff and the audience with changes involving the hiring of trans executives and increased spending on trans and non-binary creators and projects. And, my question is, man, aren't there enough of these kind of stories out there already? Like everywhere you look, everywhere you turn, there's a trans person, a gay person, a non-binary person, and dang on near every outlet. It's, in the DC world, it's in the Marvel world, it's in science fiction television. Like everywhere I look, man, I see this. Okay? It's everywhere. So they want more of it. And the excuse and the catalyst for it is, okay, so you got some comedian and he made you, offended. He got you in your fee-fees, and so now it's time for somebody to pay. Okay? Anyway, they want more executives. Harm reduction is another demand, which according to the list includes acknowledgement of what it calls Netflix's responsibility for this harm from transphobic content, and in particular, harm to the Black trans community. And I'm saying to myself, man, the Black trans community. Like, really, man? I'm just asking a question, man. So Dave Chappelle is responsible for the harm that comes to the Black trans community. I got more to say on this in a second, okay? Wow. It also called for disclaimers to flag content that includes transphobic language, misogyny, homophobia, and hate speech. So, I mean, these people are leaning in, man, really hard. In a statement, the media watchdog group GLAAD said it salutes the Netflix's employees, allies, and LGBTQ and Black advocates, calling for accountability and change within Netflix and in the entertainment industry as a whole. The employees who walked out uniformly referred reporters to the GLAAD statement. So not everybody gets some screen time, okay? Netflix ran into a buzzsaw of criticism, not only with the special, but in how internal memos responded to employees' concerns, including co-CEO Ted Sarandos' assertion that content on screen doesn't directly translate to real-world harm. Thank you. I'm just keeping it 100, man. Like, if it's the case that every time somebody says something about you, to you, that it's a cause of harm, real world harm, like, basically no one can say anything to you. You are above in each and every way reproach. You can't be critiqued or criticized at all. And that's what my issue is, okay? Anyway, Sarandos also wrote that Netflix doesn't allow titles that are designed to incite hate or violence, and we don't believe the closer crosses that line. Okay, so we already got some weirdos in here, and that's fine. We know content like this is gonna bring the weirdos out of the closet. All right. Bring them forward, all right? But I'm willing to, hey, it is what it is. So anyway, they believe the closer crosses that line. In interviews Tuesday, Sarando said he failed to recognize that a group of our employees were really hurting, he told the Wall Street Journal, and that his comment about the effect of TV on viewers was an oversimplification. Tara Field, who identifies herself on Twitter as a senior software engineer at Netflix and as trans, posted tweets critical of Chappelle's special immediately after it aired, and comments were widely shared. In her post, Field said the comic was being criticized not because his remarks are offensive, but for the harm they do to the trans community, especially Black women. There we go again, man. It's like, it's harm. Like, it's harm, okay? So if somebody says something about this community, it's harmful. Field included a list of trans and non-binary men and women of color who she said had been killed, adding in each case that the victim is not offended. This story corrects the spelling of the first name of Melissa Cohen. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. I just wanted to read it so you can see their opinion, and the opinion is, for the most part, of the same kind ad nauseum. You see a pattern here emerging. And the pattern that emerges is that, you say something about us, you crack a joke about us, You say something that is critical of us, it causes harm to our community, and so therefore we want something in recompense for that. Okay? I mean, that's how the general aim and thrust of all of this goes, right? But here's what I want to say about this. At the end of the day, asking corporations to fire people, to cancel people, or the state to come to the rescue, to cancel people, to punish people, is not revolutionary, man. It's not. It's just not. It's not revolutionary. It's milquetoast, is what it is. It's anti-revolutionary. That's what that is. I'm just being honest. Okay? I'm being absolutely honest. Asking corporations to fire people, individual people now, for hate crimes, or using the state to come to the rescue is not revolutionary. It's milquetoast. Now, let me say something. And thank you, Rashid, man. I appreciate that. The first people to actually push this kind of agenda were blacks, Jews, and Native Americans, man. The first people to push hate crime legislation and policy were African Americans collectively before all of this splintering, of groups into minority groups within minority groups. Before all of that, you had blacks, Jews, and Native Americans, and coming off the heels of Jim Crow and slavery, the colonization of the New World, and the Holocaust, these groups wanted to put an end to overt racism, anti-Semitism, and anti-Native Americanism. Okay? And at the time, there were real-world institutional overtures, institutional policies and laws that stigmatized, that actually marginalized members of these communities. But I'm here to primarily talk about Black Americans because, when you think about it, the apartheid that existed in America was primarily a black and white thing. I don't remember seeing, Native American signs where, only whites can drink here. The Native Americans drink there. I'm not saying that they didn't have a rough time. I'm not, minimizing what Native Americans went through. But you didn't see that for Jews either. You saw it for black folks. You saw the separate facilities, the segregational policies. You saw them for Black Americans versus white Americans, okay? Primarily, okay? But the people who instituted these kind of responses to these institutions tried to develop safeguards so that they can end the anti-black racism, the anti-Semitism, and anti-Native American sentiments, okay? Now, deaths and displacements to the tune of millions, literally millions, prompted these sentiments and objectives, okay? But the tactics of the past have become toothless, feckless, okay? The tactics of the past don't work anymore. Not for black folks. Now, I can't speak about what's happening with, the Jews or what's happening with Native Americans. But I know the whole hate crime pursuit in and of itself is toothless. It doesn't work. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Today, the identity groups that feed off of the old tactics of anti-establishment politics offer ineffective overtures and rhetorical moral highbrowism that creates neither results nor cultivates solidarity, such that people can actually rage against the machine and create some kind of paradigmatic change. What we see now, or what we're witnessing now, is nothing more than virtue signaling and moral grandstanding. And it stinks. The stench of which is so disgusting and repugnant, man, it's almost impossible not to puke or retch. Yes, the Johnny-come-latelys. That's what I call the minorities within minority groups. The Johnny-come-latelys. Like succubi. Seeking to skim off the top of the justice struggle, consider themselves to be champions of justice. Oppressed groups within oppressed groups within oppressed groups. Like babushka dolls. Like the little Russian dolls, where they fit inside of each other, crying like babies about their perceived subjection to oppression and domination and violence and so on and so forth. At words. Not policies really, not actions really, that number in the tune of thousands of millions, but in hyperbolic, sentimentalist, emotional language about death and destruction and violence. And my question is, where are all the dead bodies, man? Where is the evidence of all these damn dead bodies being stacked up? We can look at the Holocaust and we can see the stacks of dead bodies. We can look at it and see it. We can look at Native Americans and see all the dead bodies stacked up. We can look at African Americans and the millions of people transported from one continent to another, and the lynchings and the killings that came from that practice. We know the data on this. And we also know the data related to the trans community and all of the statements that are being made about the violence they're being subjected to. We can look at the numbers, man. We can look at the numbers, bro. And that's the issue. But how did it all begin? I told you, I'll tell you again. And like I said, this is going to be my last statement about this particular issue related to Dave Chappelle. I'm not going to talk about Dave Chappelle no more. But I got to get this off my chest. It ain't going to take long. You can come in and chime in and give your own opinion about it if you will, but I still got to point some data to you. Or I got to point you towards some data so you can put this all in this proper perspective. And I'm not trying to stigmatize or to hurt or to harm or to commit acts of violence against trans people. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm just here to put this shit in perspective. I'm saying you got a lot of Johnny-come-latelys that are seeking to skim off the top of the justice struggle who consider themselves to actually be champions of justice. And I don't think that they are. I'm just being quite honest with you. I don't think they're champions of justice at all, because the modes that they're using in order to try to accomplish their goals really don't speak to me or don't appear to me to be strong motions or movements towards justice. It just doesn't. So first come white women, murderous and exploitative colonial settlers and slave owners crying like babies over their own oppression and subjugation by their partners in crime, namely white men. How, bruh? How? So all of a sudden they become a minority group. Now, I mean, the fact that they're even able to use the language of a minority group is puzzling to me, since as it pertains to their numbers as a demographic in this country, they are the majority. But they were able to buy in to the oppression Olympics, or they had, they've been given admission to the Olympics, so they're going to play the game until the game is done. Then come lesbian white women and white gay men. Minorities of the majority, I guess. Then came lesbian black women and black gay men seeking to sop up the gravy afforded to whites, utilizing the same smug shaming tactics of these people, man. And their primary tool is violence. Over and over and over and over again, they talk about the violence, the violence, the violence. This, to me, is nothing more than the utilization of the subculture of violence theory in order to stigmatize men, but in particular, black men. The brutes that we are, right? Yeah. Then comes trans women and black trans women. And what came they here to do? To wield the power of the state and corporate America to punish people. Individual people now. Individual people. Or to use individual people as a springboard to get more goodies, gimmies, and grab-ems for themselves. Off the claim that there's profound violence happening to the people in their community. Shout out to Barry Little. So the state now and corporations need to team up with people in the LGBTQ community in order to, stop the violence. Really, I didn't know that you actually linking up with corporations and the state was going to put an end to violence. Because I thought that some of the primary agents for violence were corporations in the state. What the fuck? This is why I say this shit is anti-revolutionary. It's all smoke and mirrors. So these people really literally want to wield the power of the state and corporate America to punish individual people, which blacks and Native Americans have never been able to do successfully to any substantive or significant degree. In fact, the support of the development of hate crime legislation and policy by blacks, Native Americans, and Jews was toothless from the start, because these laws and these policies were never aimed at the right targets anyway. Instead of basically aiming down sights at the systems and the structures, they aimed at individual people due to being in their fifis over insults and misrecognition. So you know what? Racism just basically shifted and morphed into something different than what it had been. It moved away from being institutional to now being something more covert. And this is why people now use dog whistles to conceal their true feelings and sentiments. And the funny thing about it is, and this is the biggest thing I want to, I ain't gonna say the biggest thing, but this is something I want people to draw away from this, right? What's the use of not being called a nigger to your face when deep down inside a person's guts, in his entrails, and in his heart, he still feels you're a nigger any damn way? Oh, you just ain't gonna say it. You ain't gonna say it. Everywhere around you, there's evidence of it. You still a nigga. Oh, you can't say it. Don't you say it. Now, I don't have a problem like you going ham, you whipping somebody's ass or, you actually being upset about it, But there's evidence that these people still feel this way to this day. Now, the question is, does somebody like Dave Chappelle actually feel like he wants to commit acts of violence and barbarity to members of this community? I don't think that he does, and I don't think these people think that he actually does either. I don't think that they think he does. I think that they want some gimmies, some goodies, and some grab-ems. And they're going to use whatever they can as a springboard to get it. Because at the end of the day, like I just said, just because they ain't saying it, it doesn't mean that they don't believe in their hearts and in their souls that you are a nigga. The same goes for people, who get, triggered by the word faggot, whatever the case may be. If they still thinking it, ain't nothing much you can really do about it. What can you do? What can you do about it? Now you got minorities and majorities and minorities and minorities. And they've taken up these strategies, right? These strategies where, okay, I'm going to get the individual. And this is all they have and they live for. The ability to shame and stigmatize as a social political weapon to destroy individuals' life plans and aims without effectively placing a dent in the armor of the true systems of domination and oppression that create real injustice and oppression and violence. As far as I'm concerned, man, that's weak. It's whack. These people don't resist against corporatism, cannibal capitalism, the financialization of the economy, austerity measures, nothing. But they claim to be the inheritors of the radical tradition of Marx. I call bullshit on this. These people are employing the tactics of McCarthyism, Roman Colosseum mobs, and social fascists. And they really actually think they are on the vanguard. They don't resist against the state and its historical injustices. Instead, what they actually are the darlings of tokenism and impotent identity politics, bruh. If you disagree with any of these self-righteous zealots, then you're charged with crimes against humanity. You're punching down and violent both directly and indirectly. I'm here to say, man, disagreeing with your politics is not a call for violence against you and your supporters. But making an attempt to cut people off from their sources of income is. Seeking to create financial death, social death, literal death from state intervention is seeking to wield the reins of the sovereign, which is the state, who is supposed to have a monopoly on the use of violence in order to maintain law and order. The state is the harbinger of violence. Seems to me like they're trying to use the masses too to trying to tear down the masses' house. You can't do that for real. It ain't gonna work. These movements, man, these new movements, they're not structuralist, materialist-based movements. They're not. They're not really revolutionary. Because they're behaving in such a way as to cozy up to corporations and cozy up to government. That's not revolutionary to me, bruh. It's not. It's not a movement for real. This is jockeying for a spot at the cesspool that we call America with all this greediness, its nastiness, its ugliness. These people aren't changing the system. They're not causing for redistribution or reparations for real. They just want a seat at the nasty, gluttonous table. And the funny thing is, the state never has to be accountable, and they know it. The corporations and corporate America, they know. All they have to do is give in to the politics of recognition, and they don't have to do anything more. What a sweet deal for them. That's a sweet deal. All we got to do is put some tokens in certain spots and positions, and then all of the oppression in the world will just go away with the wave of a wand. And this shit is supposed to be revolutionary politics? Man, smelling blood and doing just about nothing in the service of structural and economic justice, which leads to real death and degradation, is not revolutionary action. Not as far as I'm concerned. It's not substantive politics. I'm just keeping it 100. Nobody is forcing these people to sit at the back of the bus, to eat in different sections of the cafeteria, to drink in different water fountains, to go in the service interests of hotels, to be out of town before the sun goes down, to have separate but equal educational institutions. Nobody's calling for this. Nobody's calling for this. Nobody's saying these people are not human. Now, people may say, well, the way you're defining a woman is not really a woman. But that in and of itself is not a call to create violence for someone. It's not. And I want you to see something, because you need to see it in order to understand it. You need to see it to understand it. So you see articles everywhere in the press like this, and this is a blog piece, and this is a trans person. A white person is trans, right? 2021 set to become the deadliest year on record for trans Americans. Recorded killings of trans people in the US. 2013, so it's 5 a row. That's 15, that's 19 in 2013. That's 13 in 2014. That's 21 in 2015. Okay? It's 23 in 2016. So you get a bump in 2017, right? So that's what, 29. Then you get 26. Then you got 25. 2020 is the largest year, right? So that's almost close to 50. And at the time this was, recorded, June 12th, 2021, there was, 28 killings of trans persons. We're talking about numbers under 100. Under 100, man. That's not a lot of death, man. Not when you look through the annals of American history and you start talking about who's actually been subjected to violence. I ain't trying to make light of trans people's deaths, because any death is fucked up. And I understand that. But we got to come to grips with reality. And let me put this in its proper perspective so you can understand where it is I'm coming from. You want to talk about death? Look at the total death. The number of murder victims in the United States in 2020 by race, ethnicity, and gender. The total number, 17,754. The most of which the deaths are male. The very group that you claim basically, doesn't have any right to have any complaint or any services or resources thrown their way at all. The group that suffers the most, for whatever reason. Instead of focusing on them, you want to focus on yourselves. This is what I don't understand about this kind of politics. I'm confused about it. You would think that you would throw most of the resources where there's most infection or where there's most pathology. But instead of doing that, all you do is claim, well, I'm so traumatized by the pathology. We're dying in droves. No, you're not. You're not at the top of the death list. You ain't at the top of the death list. You ain't at the top of the violence list. This is what kills me about this. So you got white men. Now, you know that there's more white men than there are black men. We understand that. So, we make up about 6% of the population. Black men. White men make up, somewhere close to damn near 30% of the population. So our numbers are disproportionately high in relation to homicide and death. As are black women. But their numbers don't even rival theirs of white women. It's not as large and pronounced as our own. These are the facts. So let's look at black deaths, male deaths, 8,467. Black females, 1,440. Then you got Hispanics and other people or whatever the case may be, but it's disproportionately high among us. Black males. Out of all the other demographics. But, we want to talk about violence. And who's violent, who's not violent, who's subjected to violence and all of this. I'm really, quite frankly, I'm tired of hearing this shit. As a black man, I am fucking tired of hearing this, bro. I'm tired of hearing about small numbers of people and according on how you want to interpret it shit. And here's the big catch to all of this. Then you ain't gonna like it. I told you if you easily triggered, you might want to back up. Because for real, a lot of people perceive black trans women as still men because they was born men and many of them still got penises. So if you really want to throw them in the fucking category, they still men and fucking dying while black. God damn. Welcome to your inability to escape black male death. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's just the reality of the shit. Motherfuckers don't want to talk about it. They don't want to say anything about it. They don't want to actually get real about it, but I'm going to get real on your ass. I'm getting medieval on your ass. Because see, this is what nobody wants to actually talk about. Welcome to black male death. You can't escape it by declaring yourself as a woman. You can't get rid of it. You can't shake the hank. You can't shake the hank. You can't get rid of the ghost. Now, my question is, how narcissistic is it for a group that only dies at 20% of the total of all the rest of the black population from violence, which is black women, and a group that dies at 0.5%? 0.5 of all the deaths, if you want to talk about black people, black trans, 0.5% of all the deaths. How you gonna soak up all the emotive energy and resources for yourselves? All under the rubric that there's something unique called violence against women, whether it's cisgendered or trans. Now, certainly there's something profoundly structural and systemic that leads to the kinds of violence that occur in the black community. But instead of ever getting to that conversation, what we do is we stay mired in ostracizing and stigmatizing the very demographic that is in the most desperate need of help. And who do we attack? We don't attack the systems or the structures. We lionize them because we recognize that that's actually punching up. And we can't, for a fucking life of God, manufacture in our brains a means by which to conceptualize punching up to the corporations and the state itself so that they get shit straight. That's too much work. That would require real revolutionary action. Instead, what we do is we want blood from individual people, as if that's really actually going to make a change in the way people think, the way they feel, and what they actually are doing. It's like trying to cut off one of the heads of the Hydra. We're in need of a change, man. Not from browbeating, not from moralizing, not from incarceration, not from finger pointing, not from cancellation, not from social death, but from the allocation of jobs, services, resources, education that all these weirdos right now want for themselves under the rubric of feminism, intersectionalism, and what about meism. What about meism? Shout out to Dr. Thunder. Appreciate that, brother. Shout out to David Johnson, the asshole. I'm just telling you the truth, man. I told you was going to get triggered. But this is the last time I'm saying something about this David Chappelle shit and hopefully about this shit for a minute. Because I'm getting tired of it, bro. This is why Dave Chappelle said, you punching down on us. And look what you're doing. Look at the tactics that you're using. And it's nothing more than other to carve a place for yourself at the cesspool. And that's supposed to be revolutionary? And then when you look at the numbers of violence, you ain't even scratching the surface of the numbers. What you scared for? You ain't got shit to worry about for real. And here's the saddest part about it, man. It costs nothing for the state to take up the mantle of what I consider to be the politics of fucking. And that's now like the preeminent politics in the left. The politics of fucking. And who you should fuck and not fuck. It takes nothing for the state to take up the mantle of the politics of fucking. No change in infrastructure, no change in distribution, no change in economic policy, no change in nothing but the change in the allocation of fake honor and recognition of pronouns and surgical procedures for prepubescent children who identify with whatever the fuck is going on with y'all and y'all people and y'all agenda, man. That shit is not revolutionary, man. It's not revolutionary. The politics of fucking is not revolutionary. It costs nothing for a corporation to act as if they're at the leading edge of or the forefront of the politics of fucking. No reparations, no redistribution, no nothing. That's why it's so paramount. That's why you see it everywhere. There's no cost to it. Nothing has to be changed for it. And that's the issue. And maybe perhaps if you invested a little time and resources and energy and effort into actually changing structures and systems, then maybe perhaps people wouldn't be so violent to fucking begin with. You wouldn't see such pathology. But even suggesting that doesn't even seem like common sense today. But I guess common sense ain't common. Not no more. Not no more. It's my way or the highway. If you don't think the way I do, you don't feel the way I do, the hell with you. I'm going to destroy everything you fucking work for and claim that you're causing violence to me and my constituency. Man, I'm so sick of this, man. I'm fucking tired of it. I'm done with this. I'm tired of it. Shout out to 77 Base X, man. I'm going to introduce somebody to the stream right now. I'm going to get rid of You get rid of sharing the screen, go back to my main screen. I'm gonna bring my brother David Johnson up here, man. I'm sick of this, man. I'm in my wits end with it. I'm tired of it. I'm done with it. David Johnson, are you there?
Yes, sir. Salute, GG. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear, brother. How you doing?
I'm great, brother. How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. You know, this kind of stuff gets me riled up. Look, I don't want to see harm come to anybody.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Especially unjustifiably or arbitrarily. Right. But I mean, the hyperbole, set up about these issues, man, it's getting to me, man. Because I mean, it's getting to me. Getting to me.
I mean, what I like to say is this. This is what I like to ask. See, I tell people every day there's organizations and situations that people actually insult your intelligence. And sometimes I'm confused. I like to get caught between. Should I be more mad at the person trying to insult my intelligence, or should I be mad at myself for buying the bullshit? And when I say that, like, what I would ask this organization is, do you want favoritism or do you want equality? Because, see, first and foremost, I'm not going to even get into Dave. Anybody who watched the piece, he really didn't say anything heavily wrong. And if anybody who follows Dave Chappelle, I've always loved Dave Chappelle because, like, him and Corey Holcomb, I think that as far as black comedians that we know of that right now, they find ways to make real things hella funny. And anybody who knows Dave, like, what I love about Dave, even when he said it in the stand-up, he said, anybody that knows me knows my issue has never been with alternative lifestyles. My issue is with white people. And if you watch all his stand-up, he is constantly giving you the comparison and the foolishness of the things they tell us and say to us. Dave is a master at showing you how they insult your intelligence, but being able to hide it within a joke. And my thing is this: if you're not looking for favoritism, then if you're truly looking for fairness and equality, then everybody gets joked about. Black people, white people, Chinese people, Indian people, Armenian. Everybody gets joked about. So if you truly are looking for equality, then get your ass in line and laugh at the jokes like the rest of us do when other comedians crack jokes on everybody else.
You would think that would be what the result is. But, at the current moment, there's currency in oppression.
Facts.
But the payment is cheap. It comes in the form of representation only. It comes in the form of tokenism only. Primarily, it comes in the form of white tokenism. Now, you got a few black people who are able to cash in, but very small numbers.
Facts. And that's purposely done.
Why else would you have a white trans woman as the showrunner for a show called Dear White People?
Facts.
I thought you was white.
Right.
And the funny shit about it is, and Dave pointed this out, you changing the game. First, you was a white dude, I could bang on you, because you the primary cause for all the fuckery going on here. Now, all of a sudden, all you got to do is declare yourself to be a woman, and I'm supposed to treat you with all of the traditional kinds of, behavior and comportment related to women?
Right.
How the fuck does that actually work?
Right.
Is a Jedi mind trick being played on me?
That's exactly what it is. And the insult to injury is everybody uses our plight. Like we all say every time, know when you're being insulted, it's an insult to say that something you choose to identify is an exact correlation to something I have no control over, which is my skin color. I have no control. I have no choice over that, whether I want to or not. So it's a false correlation. It's an insult. But meanwhile, I notice they'll piggyback off the black plight, but you never see them really putting any real effort in helping the black plight. I was on my show last week and I told them what they do to black people is wrong. See, that's how they get you. They give you the disclaimer, but then there's no viable evidence or consistent evidence to show that you've been mounting the defense for the black plight, just like you're mounting a defense for your own plight. So that's where and you're able to separate that you're just talking. You're using me, but meanwhile, you're really getting things done. You're pushing, you're politically setting your people up in positions of power. You're getting your groups together. Y'all are really, going hard against your crew or your movement or what your plight is, but I don't see the same effort. Yet when it's convenient for you, you throw out the black plight.
But you know what, bro? In order to rectify or to, give reparations for what black people have undergone, that would take a lot of work.
Facts.
It would take too much work. In fact, this is what people know. So let's roll with what, would cause the least amount of investment. And it don't cost much to invest in the politics of fucking. There's no cost associated with it. None. You don't have to change ghettos. You don't have to make sure that there's a redistribution of wealth.
Right.
Such that was, basically set up to where black folks are not enfranchised. That took work and effort. It would take work and effort to undo it and sacrifice. There's no sacrifice associated with this shit.
Right.
You say that there is, but there is not. All I got to do if I'm a producer, a corporation, is to put an ad out. That's all I got to do.
Correct.
And that will appease this demographic or give, a certain set of token positions to these folks. Mm-hmm. That's not changing the structural conditions of economics or race or gender in this country. Right. Now, white women have been able to cash in. They were the first ones. That's why I say a whole bunch of Johnny-come-latelys. Mm-hmm. So white women came in and took over the moral language that was put forth by black people collectively and Jews and Native Americans. Now, all of a sudden, white colonial settler women are a minority, although they are not a minority at all.
Right.
They're not poor at all.
At all.
They're not uneducated at all.
Right. It's actually just the dominant culture figuring out another way to shuffle the money back into their pocket. Meanwhile, using our plight the same way this country makes policy deals with foreign countries, and they benefit from a lot of the programs that are sadly supposed to be for us that we're denied.
David Johnson, the asshole, boy, you hitting on all cylinders right now, my brother. I'm glad somebody gets it. Somebody sees it. Somebody understands it. But I can't understand, how the politics of fucking is taking precedence. There's nothing there at the end of the rainbow. There's nothing there but the Wizard of Oz.
Facts. It's all an illusion. It's
all smoke and mirrors.
Facts.
It's not changing the basic structure of the society in which we live. The politics of fucking. Mm-hmm. The rich still getting richer. The poor still staying poor.
Absolutely.
Got a few token people in certain positions. It's not changing. It's not revolutionary.
Fact.
And that's all I got to say. And then people can come talk to me if they want to. We can have a real conversation.
Absolutely.
But I'm getting tired about, just throwing around this violent shit. Because all they doing is buying in to white women's rhetoric about how they're subjected to violence. But when you look at the numbers, even with white men, you're in a minority among those subjected to violence, miss.
Facts.
The violence ain't coming your way most paramountly.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not the ones being subjected to the violence.
Right.
Men are the ones it doesn't matter if men are the ones even doing the violence. But some of that violence is women.
Right.
So,
but if you notice though, Gigi, I always wondered why people would play victimhood. Then I recognize that victimhood has power. See, first, when you think victimhood, you think weak. You think, subject to. You think subjugated. You think weakness when you think victimhood. Nobody would have ever thought, back to the wolf in sheep's clothing, nobody would have ever thought victimhood could be used for manipulation. Now, of course, people like you and I, we know better. But for most parts, and I always say this, it's diabolically, like the things that go on around here are diabolically genius. Now, make no mistake, some wicked, evil bastards, make no mistake. But if I was an evil, wicked, diabolical genius, these are exactly the moves I would do. And make no mistake, like they don't tell you there has to be a permanent underclass. So we're going to always keep a group of people, a set of people at the bottom, even though all while we give you the smoke and illusions that this is about equality, when it's not about equality. Because at the end of the day, if I'm an upper class, if I offer you equal opportunity, I no longer am in the upper class. Now that means things that the money and power and things I was able to hoard, now I have to share, which makes me weaker. So we're never trying to give you an equal opportunity. Sure, we say that. Like I say, just because a person gives a disclaimer, like you hear people say, example, I don't talk about black men. I've said there's some women that do this, but then when you check that person's content, the majority of their content is slandering black men, but they fool people with that one verbal disclaimer. I talk about bad women too, and that's supposed to put you to sleep. And again, like I said earlier, the scary part is once they make that disclaimer, a lot of stupid people do buy into it and go back to sleep.
Bro, like I said, today is the last day. I'm talking about this for a while. You know what I'm saying? It might come up in another kind of a way. Right. But, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just done with Dave Chappelle and this issue, bro. But all I can say about it is the politics of fucking ain't revolutionary. To them, it's revolutionary because they feel like they changing the social structure. But changing the social politics of fucking ain't changing nothing, man. The rich people staying rich. The poor people staying poor. Right. And the same demographics of people who've been traditionally poor are still poor.
Right.
It ain't changing nothing, man.
I agree.
It's just it's musical chairs and tokenism. Yeah. And it's all about, this whole notion of violence against women. So everybody's just putting that out there. I've shown over and over and over again that men are not the only people that are actually violent.
Absolutely.
But we're the ones that suffer from violence the most.
Right. Isn't woman, lesbian relationships isn't their rates of domestic violence higher?
They got the highest rates.
Yeah.
But it's okay when they do it. They just, they getting some shit off their chest.
Yeah, they women. Yeah, it's
okay. So they can scrap. It's cool for them to fight.
Right.
To be strong and all of this shit. Right. My friend, man, his daughter, man, was assaulted. Well, not assaulted, but basically she was run off the road on a highway. Man, broke her leg in like 3 or 4 places and shit. Another girl. Recently in New York City, man, some trans woman pushed a motherfucking woman into a goddamn moving train. I mean, people are people, man. This is all I'm trying to say. People are people. People do fucked up things, okay? And there are cultural contexts in which a lot of this violence plays out. But to just put it all on the backs of one demographic, namely black men, or just to put it all on one, evil, ominous source, to only offer one ideology in a nuanced and complex world where you want complexity everywhere else.
Right.
But you don't want complexity there. Everything else is complex. Sexuality is complex. Gender is complex. Right. Everything is complex. But when it comes to violence, everything is black and white.
That's how you know it's a hustle.
Man, look, you can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. And you can fool black men sometime, but you can't fool black men all the damn time.
That's right.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
At some point, all I'm saying is this shit is anti-revolutionary. It's corporatist, it's statist, and it's utilized to keep a narrative that allows for tokenism. And nothing comes out of this shit but smoke and mirrors. At the end of the rainbow ain't shit but Wizard of Oz.
Right.
Yoga, what's good with you, bro?
What's going on, PhD with the G and brother David Johnson.
Salute, brother.
Salute. All right, I want to touch on the fact, a point that y'all made when y'all was just talking, and you said, well, what they do is it's got to be a permanent underclass with this capitalism, but they tell us in the media and school and stuff that this is some type of equal situation, but they promote what's the opposite. So that's the point I want to pull off of right there, and just to get some up to get the listeners and the people in the chat, that the people that will watch this later on. We're in a maze. We're in a maze. What they're allowing us to do is switch the walls that's in the middle of the maze that are non-bearing, non-blocking walls. They letting us switch them around, but they'll never let us switch the outside walls of the maze that are real high that we can't jump over or dig under. But we can always switch the walls on the inside, like you said, that make us think we're doing something in the society by doing this or doing that or doing that, but it's never switching the whole thing. And those big walls that are around, those are the walls of the system of who's printing the money. No matter how much we can come together, we can do A, B, C, and D, it will always be a permanent class because they're actually printing that money on a machine. So we can come together and get millions and do this and do that. And then we could still be the underclasses because we'll look up and they'll have zillions because they'll just print more. We'll go out and do the real physical work. We're the builders, the street sweepers, the carpenters, the surgeons, and all to do all the real work. And they'll just print more of the money and keep us and say, well, y'all got billions now, but we have quadrillions because they just print more. So I just wanted to give that concept that we all still in this maze as long as they print the money, as long as we buying into that actual system. But I wanted to make that point. Continue, Double G.
For sure. Can I
piggyback off that right quick? What you said, brother, I agree. I always say, first of all, let me say this. I always say, first, let me say this. This is the thing, like the part, that's why we use the matrix here. It's never what they say. It's never what it appears to be. They give you the impression again of this is equality, but no, it's really not. It's a bunch of monopolies. It's just a bunch of monopolies of a certain group of people locking down everything. And they give you the illusion of equality. And what you said about the maze, I'm gonna give you another one that I say like that. I always say what it is like when they let a mouse loose in a maze. That mouse thinks, oh shit, I'm free. So he's running around, he's looking for places to go. Okay, I can't go here. Oh, I'm hurry up, I'm gonna get out of here. Never realizing that if he ever does find his way out, it's a cage at the end. So the whole time he thought he was making his way out. The whole time, like if you've ever watched a mouse in a maze, we know exactly where he's gonna end up, and we watch all the moves he makes. That's what life is a lot like.
The trip out thing again, like I said before, man. You know, Martin Luther King Jr. He knew full well. Okay, it's time to talk about economics.
Right.
Okay, it's time to talk about the Poor People's Campaign. You know, like I mean, we covered the race issue, but that ain't really where it's at anyway. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's about resources and who's got access to the resources. You know, his next thing was we coming to get our check.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? But right now, what you have is you have corporatism, cannibal capitalism, austerity measures, the financialization of the economy, right? That's what you have. And now everybody's distracted by the politics of fucking.
Right.
Like this is some revolutionary shit. This is not revolutionary, man. I understand to them it's important or whatever the case may be, but I mean, using this hyperbolic language about violence and death and how it's up so high and your numbers ain't even over 100?
Facts.
Ain't even close to 100.
Neo-propaganda.
And then at the end of the day, many of them motherfuckers who dying still got dicks. So at the end of the day, all depending on how you want to interpret who they are, actually, you still can't escape this black male death.
Facts.
Even if you change up to be a woman, you still can't escape the shit. It's like the vapors. Nothing can save you. You underdig what I'm saying now?
Yes, sir.
But they don't get that part. They don't get that part though. You can't escape black male death. Even if you castrate yourself. Even if you put a dress on, you can't escape the shit.
Right.
That's why Dave Chappelle even made a joke about this shit.
Right. Because if you remember at the end, what I loved how he did it, he was like, Dave, that's why I fuck with, like, listen, when you can walk away from 50 million, you the man to me. You the motherfucker, you a nigga I trust because you turn down money. And what I love how Dave did it, he's so genius. When he started off talking on that, I knew he was when I first watched it, I'm like, he gonna do some slick shit. What he did was he actually showed you that it's actually reverse psychology. You're actually doing what you're saying is being done to you is actually being done to us. And that's why he said, all I'm saying at the end is stop punching down on my people. I was like, ooh, this is why I fucks with you, Dave.
But see, here's the deal, man.
Yes, sir.
I no longer want to hear all this shit about, you know, going after individual people trying to cancel them like you're in the Roman Coliseum somewhere, giving the thumbs down, you know, trying to create social ostracization and, you know, like banishment of people. That's all this shit is about. We're going to banish you and we're going to tell the state to do it or a corporation to banish you. Right. Because those views aren't like the views that are, you know, that's hateful.
Listen, censorship.
So everybody, look. Here. But everybody's been able to co-opt the language of hate.
Facts, except us. Facts.
But we become the poster boys for hate,
right,
and violence and pathology, right. But have been subjected to most of the violence that the state has to offer. Right. So now all this does is lean in and flips the script and says, "You're right, get the niggas. Mm-hmm. They're incorrigible.
Right,
they're irredeemable." They're the source of it.
Right. Remember, we just had Asian hate. Remember, they was just talking about Asian hate. I'm like, goddamn, how many people gonna ride this train? Meanwhile, we see who gets shot down in the streets, but everybody else is getting all the hate. Okay.
Well, this is what happens, my man. Like, even like that's why Kwame Ture switched sides. You know what I'm saying? And left the civil rights movement tactics alone. He was like Stokely Carmichael 1 minute, then he was Kwame Ture the next. Like, look, you thought that you were actually making a dent in the hate and in the disrespect that these people have for you, but you haven't made a dent because what you're doing is you're actually thinking that these people have a moral compass. They don't.
Exactly.
They don't give a fuck. And so they basically just changed the game. The game is don't act like you racist. Just be racist in secret.
Right.
Don't say nothing about it,
Can
but
I
you know they
chime in
niggas
on that?
anyway. Go ahead, bro.
That's the spell that they say they got on our people, the big spell the spell on us. That is it. That's the big spell. I need to do a documentary on it. The big spell is the Caucasians have tricked the entire planet and making the entire planet think that they have a soul which gives you a moral compass, and we are treating them like that, and they're not. And so we're it's actually like when you're in a relationship with your woman, and she do something when y'all already talked about it, and she still do it, and then you get upset. That's what we're doing with the Caucasians.
Right.
They don't have a moral compass, and then we're scratching our head. We're like, we did all this, y'all did all this killing. Okay, y'all have all the land, y'all have all the resources. Okay, let's live in peace now, and y'all still can't do it. And so we're literally thinking in our hearts and our subconscious, because they went, when they let us out of chattel slavery, out of the chains, they went hard on conditioning us to make us think that they have a moral compass. So G, when you said that, that's the spell right there.
Right. Let me piggyback off that right quick. Let me piggyback off that right quick too. Something I always say, I said earlier, censorship reflects fear. Yeah, we hear you. Censorship reflects fear. I've never been big on censorship, and I told people this. Two things. I like everything honest. I'm the type of person, I don't care what it is. I don't care how you present it. I got one rule: let it be true. That's all I care about. And I tell people this: I like my racists and my haters honest. I don't want them silent, because then I can't see them and I can't identify them. So I'm not about cancel culture. I want people to be able to say whatever it is they want, so that way I can be able to identify people. Like Gigi just said, at the end of the day, if we silence them, or we deal what we call cancel culture, we'll never be able to point out who people truly are, because they have to hide who they are. Like you just said, a G with a PhD, you said now they're not saying stop being racist. They just saying be quiet about it. The same way they don't want to stop hurting black people. They just want us to shut up about it.
Effectively, they've gotten us to shut up about it, because the darling movement right now is the politics of fucking.
Mm-hmm.
Which white folks can buy into. Not you too can be a minority.
Right.
Right. For a small fee.
You too.
You too can be a minority. All you gotta do is adopt the politics of fucking.
Hey, listen. The
The
blatant
$5 Indians.
The blatant
$5 Indians that we saying over again.
Right.
And look, what I'm not trying to say is that these people have an easy road, or that life is, not difficult. That's not the point. You understand what I'm saying? But the point is, stop trying to use violence and death as a catalyst for your viewpoints, and then try to cancel individual people,
right?
As if that's actually making a dent in your goals for the attainment of justice. Stop that shit. Stop using subcultural violence theory to propel the boat that you got on the sea, bruh. That's all we saying. And because we already know what the dog whistle is related to that.
Right.
Like when you start talking about black trans women, you talking about black men killing black motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying, who decided that they're going to have this alternative lifestyle. That's what you're saying. It's another way to take a dig at some black men.
Absolutely.
That's what that shit is about. Every time they say that shit, and then all these fuck politics people, all they want to do is double down on this shit, and then therefore, black men are the white people are black people, so therefore they don't need any help or resources. They're innately evil. They're evil incarnate. Mm-hmm. They don't need any resources, even though we died from death,
right?
From violent-related deaths, more than any other demographic in this whole goddamn community. We somehow deserve it. We somehow need no resources. We need no empathy, nothing. And we soaking up the attention for the people who actually and truly deserve it.
Right.
Which are black women and minorities. Or whatever the case may be, like babushka dolls. I'm just sick of this shit, bro.
Let me ask you this, bro. Let me ask you this. All right, because this is things I deal with, like, because it's like what I call, you know, and we know there are stupid people, so I'm not talking about the average stupid person. We know the average stupid person, and I'm not insulting. The average stupid person is blind. They don't know what's going on. They believe what they're told. But what I'm saying is, let's be honest. And what I'm saying, I'm reaffirming what you're saying. See, sometimes, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Gigi. I'm saying this for those listeners. Some people assume like these people that run this place, the people that are calling these shots, don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. This is why they do everything with smoke and illusions. This is why they come up with other plights and other people plights. And like you said, give people plights who don't deserve them for the distractions while they do all the dirt they do to everybody.
But the fact is, some of these people doing this dirt, or some of these people living these alternative sexual lifestyles.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? Look, man, look, like I said before, there's no record, no history of like a trail of millions of deaths, transportations from one continent to another.
Right.
You know, like that's not been the main catalyst for which oppression has been put down, laid down, and taxed and levied. Excuse me.
No mass incarceration, none of that. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, bro, these people ain't been forced to sit on the back of the bus or to stand up on the bus. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? They ain't never been told that they can't go to a certain school, that they got to drink at a different water fountain. Now, they are told they got to go to a different bathroom based on traditional concepts of gender, which is supposed to be protective of women more so than anybody else.
Hello. And children.
But, you know, hey, let's change all that up now. Fuck that, because we got to deal with the reality that they say is real.
Right.
We got to deal with their identity formations because, damn it, we said that's the way it is. So now we got to change everything. Whether right or wrong, but the whole point, these people don't even want acclamation. They want fiatic change in value systems that fit around them and their identity constructions.
Favoritism. That's all they want.
Right here, right now. And if you don't do it, it's violent and you're hateful.
Right.
And we ain't even talking about the people who can point to a history that goes back like fucking millennia.
Right.
Or centuries.
Right.
They're not victims, man. They try to perpetrate themselves. They paint themselves as victims, you know? 2 years after the Civil Rights Act was passed, right? 1963. Then 1965, they added women to the category of being a minority. So now a lot of these white guys put their businesses in their wives' name. They're taking advantage of a lot of the set-asides that are really there for us as black men. And you know, as far as government contracting is concerned, now they're stretching it to not only include women, but to include their misfit kids who don't happen to turn out straight when they grow up. And so, like you said, this is a fuck politics, man. You by a chosen behavior, by a behavior you choose, you get to crown yourself a victim. You get to crown yourself an oppressed minority and actually lay a claim to our ancestors' legitimate civil rights struggle. You know, this has been insulting ever since they first started doing this in the 1960s and 70s. And now it's ridiculous. And they're not even looking for equality, my brother. This is tyranny. This is totalitarianism. They want to control. Because, you know, tyranny is always based on a lie. And a man in a dress is still a man. I don't care who gets pissed off. I'll call a tranny bruh to his face and dare him say something. Okay? And dare him say something. Punch him right in his jaw. Bruh.
But you know, but you know, look, I wouldn't go so far as to do all that, but my whole thing is this, right? at the end of the day, the trans movement's tactics are not revolutionary tactics. They act as if they're on some sort of revolutionary movement type level or status. But what they're doing is they're using the state and they're using corporations in order to push their agenda. And the corporations are willing to do it and the state is willing to do it because the investment back into it is minimal. Do you get what I'm saying? So look, in order to really actually deal with justice-related claims to black folks, you got to do reparations. You got to do a whole lot of heavy lifting. You don't have to do any lifting at all to deal with like the trans movement. Done. You don't have to do no move. You don't have to do any heavy lifting to deal with issues related to the LGBT community at all. Fact. There's no. What are they looking for? Reparations? No.
No.
They're looking for a redistribution? No. They're not looking for any of that. So, of course,
they're looking to recruit our sons. They're looking to recruit our sons. That's the point of this.
Yep.
Man, the politics of fucking is milquetoast. It's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I think that anybody being subjected to violence is fucked up? Yeah, I think so. You know, on account of who they are. But, like, at the end of the day, you ain't the only motherfucker subjected to violence. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody knows that better than us. Nobody knows that.
And you know, I'm just shocked, man, at how far this is going and how far people are willing to concede to it.
I'm not. It makes sense.
But I am surprised, and primarily I'm surprised that black men. I'm surprised that black men have waited so long to even say anything about this shit out in the open.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Now, people thought I was crazy. People thought I was crazy when I first got put onto the stuff that was in the Disney cartoons. I went straight to my family. Then, hey, cut all the Disney trips, cut all the cartoon stuff. It's stuff that's in there that we're not looking at. And I showed them. They was like, "Oh, I got that DVD of the Dora the Explorer. I got that." I was like, "Yeah, go ahead and throw them away." And then when I treated it as a poison, a couple of months later, around Christmas time or holidays, and my family looking at me, I'm like, "Hey, we already saw what's going on. Now y'all going right back and getting the same Disney stuff."
Right. And if I may, I said this down in the chat. I mean, back to what I said. Know when you're being insulted directly to your face. Like, if that be the case, I said this in the chat, and tomorrow I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to tell them I identify myself as the owner. So I'm going to take a few million out of this bank because I identify myself as the owner. And when the cops when the cops come to arrest me, and I'm asked, why did they arrest me? Because you're not the owner of the bank. We don't care what you choose to identify. Well, the cops are oppressing my freedom of identification. Like, no, it doesn't matter. You're not the owner of the bank. We don't care how much you feel you are. It's not the truth.
But you know, let me just say this shit. Let me just say this, man, and I'm gonna be kind of like really for real, kind of like done with this shit though. The black LGBTQ community has to get its own shit in order, and the reason I say that is, you know, like it's some trans persons that can fool you, but most of them can't fool you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you know, certain mannerisms, certain comportment, certain ways that you look, you act, like motherfucker can tell. Like, what's the trans woman, man, that came out supporting Dave Chappelle? What's that motherfucker's name?
Oh, his friend, I forgot.
Not Daphne, but the black person that's been doing the circuit from Chicago. What's that motherfucker's name? Flame Monroe. Man, Flame Monroe. I could tell Flame is not like born a woman. I can tell that. So most of the people getting down with these trans persons, man, are gay to begin with.
Right.
So you need to get that shit straight in your own goddamn community. Stop putting that shit on us, man.
Right.
Stop putting that shit on heterosexual black men. You got to deal with that shit on your own. You got to clean your own fucking house. And all that down low shit, they still gay. You still got to fucking holler at them motherfuckers.
Right.
Them still your people.
The D-Lows too.
You gotta them your folks. They're not ours.
Right.
So, at the end of the day, you got a problem within your own community and you ain't even speaking about it.
Exactly. Pressure is on them. The pressure is on the black LGBT community to stand up for the straight black community and stop letting the white LGBT community attack us. That's what it's exactly.
But quiet as this kept, there's a lot more racism within that community than outside. And it's always been that way.
But like I'm just here to say, man, like, all this hate crime shit and this all of this stuff related to violence. You don't know what violence is. Y'all living life, man, on easy. Like if you playing like Call of Duty, you ain't on that difficulty, that professional level difficulty, that real level difficulty. Right. You playing on the beginner level. You just not getting into this violent shit. Now you're getting a taste of what, black men been getting all along. And just so happens the trans women, they also have to participate in it. They ain't able to shake off the stink of being black and male yet.
Right.
So welcome to it. Welcome to the shit that we got to deal with on a daily basis.
Right.
Just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so, but to stop putting all this shit on us. Because you're really attacking a straw man. Because they got to deal with their own people. You got to deal with gay people. Because if trans motherfuckers getting killed, it's because some gay motherfuckers killing them. Right. Don't want to be outed or whatever the case may be. You understand what I'm saying? Because I'll be damned. I'm not going to go look for no trans person to fuck with them.
That's a fact.
At all.
That's a fact.
I'm not going to go out searching for
LGBT on LGBT violence.
I'm not going out here trying to, what do I need to fuck with you for? Unless you like work with me or something, you know what I'm saying? Or I know you from my childhood and, we used to be fucking partners or something. But like, why am I going to go out and go look for you specifically?
I got too much shit to do.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Right. You know what I'm saying? But there's certain people who are attracted to that shit. And, like, and some of these people are violent their goddamn selves, man.
Absolutely.
Stop playing the game, man. Like, okay, well, these people are just, like darlings. And the purity of white womanhood is dangerous to everybody, man. This whole notion of
PhD with a double G, you got me thinking, man, I'm thinking about running a campaign like some other brothers did across the nation on billboards and all the black cities and say, hey, look, when every time a transgender is attacked or killed or something like that, that's another gay person that's doing that attacking on them. Stop the anti-black, straight black family community. Stop the punching down on us. I'm thinking about putting some billboards like this to wake everybody up to because you made a valid super point. Hey, that's gay on gay violence when the tranny is attacked and they put it out in the news. That's monumental right there. That's the hook right there that we need to get on. Every time they say a tranny is harmed, that's another check in the category of gay on gay violence. And we need to start like pinpointing it and calling it out more. Every time they come out in the news, every time they come out with the Democrats come out and rolling it again, we say, okay, that's more gay on gay violence. That's the way to combat
so we
this.
got Jenna Strange. Let me comment on this because we got a trans person here. And look, I for one, I'm not here to oppress nobody. I'm not here to talk down on nobody. You know what I'm saying? So she says, darlings, I'm trans. I love Dave. People need to grow up and develop a thicker skin. Hell, I know what I look like. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And look, I'm not here to, basically take pot shots on all trans. I don't think even all trans people doing this shit. It's a certain group of political activists who are using, the politics of fucking and, oppression as a means by which to advance themselves through tokenism. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, look, leave us alone, man. We got enough problems as it is.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to fucking make us out to be monsters, man. Because at the end of the day, we ain't the monsters you're making us out to be. And all for the sake of you getting $1 or you propelling yourself, advancing yourself in the context of this sick system. In the meanwhile, the basic structure of the society in which we live is not being altered or modified. Like I said before, man, you know, financialization of the economy ain't changing. And basically that's where, you know, the CEOs basically buy back stock of the company and they use financial instruments as a means by which to make money instead of investing back in the company so that the people who work for the company can actually have pensions and retirement plans. You understand what I'm saying? And that the manufacturing base can grow. They're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? And for the most part, man, the middle class is shrinking. Everybody's feeling the punch or, you know, the sting of this. And none of these issues are being discussed because we stay mired and we stay, you know, basically seated in the politics of fucking. And I don't give a fuck who you fucking. Personally, I don't care. I never have cared. And most black folks don't give a fuck. We just like, damn, stop ramming this shit down our throats. Stop trying to make us out to be boogeymen related to this so we can move on. We still got some shit we need to contend with on our own. And stop saying that we the ones primarily being violent to these people when we ain't even in contact with these motherfuckers. Like, it takes somebody hovering around that world to actually be in contact with people in that world. You understand what I'm saying? You got to go out and look for that shit. And primarily, you need to educate your own people, man. You know what I'm saying?
Unless they're trying to normalize getting catfished.
Look, I'm saying this, man. All I would do, man, like if somebody ever did catfish me related to that, which I think would be difficult to do, but if it did happen, I'd be like, look, first of all, man, you know, you don't want anybody to impose their sexuality on you. Like, if you don't want to be misgendered, you don't want to be, you know, told that you got to have sex with somebody you don't want to. So why would you force that on somebody else? You understand? If you're gay, you're not going to want to be forced to have sex with a person from a different sex. The same with heterosexual people, man. If they don't want to fuck around with the same sex, don't try to ram that shit down their throats to where they're unjust, they're hateful if they don't want to do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just, it should go without saying. It should be common sense. If I can't force a gay man to fuck a woman, then how you gonna force me as a straight man to fuck, you know what I'm saying, somebody who's trans if I don't want to? Maybe I want a cisgendered heterosexual woman. But if that's what I'm into, how you gonna tell me I can't be into that? You understand what I'm saying? Then don't try to trick me into fucking with you and dating you, and then, you know what I'm saying, later on down the line, I find out you know you was born a dude. That don't seem right to me, man. It just seems like a big deception to me. But you know, that's on me. You know, that's my feelings.
That's
my
a
thoughts about it.
That's a attempted rape.
It's called habitual line stepping. That's
attempted rape. That's attempted rape on a technical legal standpoint. That would be considered attempted rape. And any man that go through that need to report it that way.
So anyway, that motherfucker Wolf, and we got you know, Officer Falk in this joint. You know what I'm saying? So y'all go ahead and speak for a minute. I know, you know, we've been talking for all the while. So, you know, and then we got a trans person here, which is cool. I mean, apparently that's a white trans person. You know what I'm saying? Because they basically said I can also say the most love I've gotten from straight people is in the communities that are not white. Might be because I know what it's like to be kicked. Just a thought. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, look, I'm not here to knock anybody, man. You can do whatever you want to with your own body. All I'm saying is, you know, this shit ain't revolutionary politics by going after individual people and trying to destroy their careers. That's not revolutionary. And using corporations and the state to do it. That's not revolutionary to me.
That's
artificial turfing when you think about it. Because I remember,
oppression.
Go ahead, Charles.
That's actually another form of oppression. You know, you couldn't talk about, you know, back in the day when they had the court jesters, the only person who could speak openly to the king was the jester. Now you're seeing the ruling class who you're looking out there and see who you can't speak about or speak against. And I've always said this: you believe that you're a woman. In reality, I know that you're not. Does your beliefs have to outweigh reality? If you want to choose a lifestyle, let that be upon you. But don't force that that oppressive mindset down on somebody else, because your psychosis is not my issue.
That's right.
And I don't have anything against any of the L, the G, the B's, or the T's. But I'm gonna just tell you what it is. Just like we had a roll call a couple of years ago, and there was a LGBT liaison. And I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck don't we have a liaison for a city that's roughly 70% black? But I digress.
Facts.
But she wanted to talk about, quotation marks, about how it could seem harassing to a trans person if you call them mistakenly by their name. If you're 6'8" and 350 pounds and you look like a man, most people are going to say, I thought that was a man. They're not going to think woman first. I don't know too many women that get that big.
All right.
If any. But yeah.
Say this. Look, you know, I took 3 graduate feminist seminars, and I did it by elective. I had already taken all the coursework. I did this shit in addendum, okay? And one day it was a math professor that came in one of the sessions, and, you know, it was a trans person, and they kind of had lipstick kind of like, you know, sloppily, you know, painted over their lips or whatever, and, you know, was wearing a dress. And, you know, I shook the person's hand, and I did say, sir. And I'm in a fucking graduate feminist seminar, and it's hard for people to break the cultural traditions that they've been, you know, acclimated to for fucking all of their lives. I'm a grown ass man seeing what apparently to me is still, you know, even though the person was wearing a dress, I didn't mean it to be offensive. You know what I'm saying? It was just a habit, force of habit. You didn't look like a woman to me, so I was like, damn, oh shit. You know, like, and I noticed it, you know what I'm saying? Because I really wasn't trying to be offensive, you know, and I never have tried to be offensive to these people. You understand what I'm saying? That's just me. Right. But at the same time, if I have a viewpoint, if I have an argument to make, you can't reduce my argument or my viewpoint to violence in and of itself. Right. You know what I'm saying? And then when I look at the numbers, like I said before, I'll put this shit up here again, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look at the numbers, man, less than 50 of them people die per year, bro.
And I'm going to tell you, because I had to deal with them on the midnight shift. There are ugly truths about the trans community they don't want people to know. But I'll finish the story before I get to those ugly truths. This liaison, quotation marks, because I think they could have got a better representative because they didn't know a bag of Skittles from a goddamn wrench. This person wanted to talk about all the oppression, all the things they go through as trans, and I had to ask them, so are you going to try to tell a black man in America how it feels to be oppressed? I want you to start now.
Right.
My major at the time, the district commander, was a white guy, and he was laughing his ass off. He had to step out the roll call room. So you want to talk about oppression, because last time I checked.
Charles?
Yeah, you fell off.
Get out, Charles.
Well, in the meantime, Charles, should I pick up? No, you're good now. You're good now.
Okay. And I said, I fought for the rights for people to do and live whatever lifestyle they want, and I would do it again happily. But when you start becoming pushy and obnoxious,
right,
to say I want to basically have the audacity for me to say, well, what I'm, like Gigi said, of what I was trained to view a man and a woman as, and to get upset with it, it's asinine. And I asked her, I said, so let me ask you this question. Did anybody ever tell trans or gay or bisexual people, get on the back of a bus?
Nope.
Did they bring you here from Gayistan, bring you over here and put you on bus into slavery? Yeah, that too. And they brought you over here. I said, so what you've done was this was a self-made decision.
Self-inflicted.
Self-inflicted. I'm not trying to make light of their situation, but I'm gonna just be honest. Whatever you've done to yourself, that's your shit and your cross to carry, your burden to bear.
Facts.
You went out of your way. Last time I checked, like I had to ask this one guy, do you feel more prejudice being black or being gay? He said being gay. I said, how the hell would I know you're gay walking down the street?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I could tell your ass is black almost a mile away,
Right.
and I'm gonna have preconceived notions about you being black. It's just like I was about to go into about the little known thing. 60% of people who go through the full surgeries from trans commit suicide. They have a very high suicide rate that nobody likes to talk about. A lot of, and then you have a good amount, a decent amount, who go into prostitution. Do I think that's all trans people? No.
No.
But they don't like to talk about this shit because it's going to really look bad upon them. I went to a black high school who had gay guys there. Nobody fucked with them. Nobody was saying, let's pick on the gay people. If anything, most gay, bisexual, lesbian, and transgender people will say, I feel the safest when I'm out with black people. Because
except the Africans.
Yeah.
Except Africans. And I can vouch for that.
And black American people, at least. And even
no, with the black African Americans, of course. With Afro-Caribbean, with Africans, they're not safe.
That. They don't play.
They don't play that.
And look,
it's like even in school, we had people who told the one or two dumbasses who tried to bother them, yo, you fuck with them, we're gonna beat your ass because they don't fuck with nobody. Right. Leave them be to do what the fuck they want. So when I saw this whole violence against trans women, look, if a guy said he does not swing that way, why persistently keep coming at him? Go to somebody who does. Simply put. But yet, you want, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to give it back to Gigi. I don't understand why so many women support this shit, but then you get upset when these transgender women get the same protections, the same liberties as you, just like we just had the past Olympics, a transgender woman just won a gold medal in a women's event. But you keep coming with this, oh, we're equal shit, and in reality dictates to you another way. But go ahead, Gigi.
Yeah, you know,
I didn't get my chance to talk. I didn't get a chance to talk anyway.
Yeah, go ahead, MF Wolf. Go ahead.
Thanks, man. Honestly, man, I find the whole thing absurd. This whole thing, regarding Chappelle and everything. And I've had my interactions with trans people, and I will say, being one of the rare few Africans, I don't have a problem with them because they're not bothering me. It's no harm, no foul, as far as I'm concerned. As long as they learn to if I interact with you in a civil way, I expect you to do to that me in kind. Because up in here in Europe, there's still racism I got to deal with every once in a while. Not as bad up here in the north, but in other places you got to. But I remember there was a comedian. His name is Ty Silvera. Ty Rivera. Sorry, Mexican American. And he talked about, first of all, you cannot say gay is the new black. He was talking shit. He called that out as bullshit because he said, first of all, if you're a normal person, in other words, white, you go to a bar, unless you let them know that you're gay or whatnot, they're going to interact with you. Until they find out you're gay, they're cool with you. And when they do, they don't want nothing to do with you. If you're a black dude and you walk into that bar, they don't like you right then and there. Think about that. On top of that, this whole outrage with Chappelle, a lot of it, by the way, am I allowed to mention, drop names here of other YouTubers?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I remember checking out Professor Black Truth's take on the whole thing. And one concept I think people should understand is the concept of astroturfing. I'm sure you know what that is, Gigi, don't you?
No, what's astroturfing?
Astroturfing is basically you know what a grassroots movement is, correct?
Yeah, I do know that. Okay,
now faux grassroots movements called astroturfing, and usually it's usually funded, and you realize they're astroturfed because they come out of nowhere. You see their paperwork is recent and how well funded they are, and if you follow the money, you realize it's alternative motives.
Exactly. That's what I was saying.
So, yeah, that's where the fake outrage is coming for, and it's just people just. As far as trans people go, I'm just saying it's like, folks, you want to be equal. Understand, there's going to be some pros and cons to that. Understand that if you want me to recognize you as a woman, understand I may not want to deal with you as all the way. And to the gentleman, to the individual, sorry, who is trans, may I ask what kind of trans you are, or if is that too personal? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, but there's no trans person on the.
Right.
Oh, I thought there
panel,
was
dude.
one.
No.
Oh, I thought somebody said there was.
No, they were in the chat. Yeah, they
they were in the chat. Oh, I see.
They left a message, right? He highlighted.
Hey,
my mistake.
There's a couple of things that are very simple here, right? First off, a lot of these people because let's be honest, they come to black women to get this backup because otherwise they wouldn't be taken seriously, right? Black women don't have a problem when it's their sons that is getting fooled by these trannies or transsexuals, right? When it happens to him, it's going to be different then. And then secondly, look, any sex that you don't want that is forced upon you is rape. I don't care what it is in the books. If you don't want it and it's forced upon you, which means fooling you as well, right? So if a girl says she don't want back door, and then you wait until she goes to sleep, or you give her some sort of drug to make her more relaxed and more willing to do it, that's gonna be called rape. So how is it that forcing sex on you from somebody you don't want, right? Not gonna be rape. It's the same dynamic.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, if you decide, like, if you're a heterosexual black man and you have a proclivity to date straight women or whatever the case may be, then you should have the option, free from deception, to engage in those kind of encounters. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, bottom line, and no one should, catfish you or deceive you to do something that you don't want to do. In either way, like, I mean, so I mean, I don't believe the gay people should be forced to be straight. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if that's what they want to do, then they free to do it. It is America. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, they should be able to do whatever they want to with their own bodies. I've always said that. I'm going to maintain that, even though it might be unpopular among some people. My whole thing is, don't push it down my throat at my expense and then talk about how violent I am because it's 50 of y'all dying a year. And then, it's time to cancel motherfuckers. And then it's now time to take up the banner of, well, black men or the white people or black people or some shit like that. Like, I'm just tired of hearing this, man. And that's
my question.
But hold on, though. This is what this means to me. You know what I'm saying? This is what this all basically boils down to. But the fucked up thing about it is, as soon as you do something that a black woman doesn't like, what's the first thing that she accuses you of doing? Or being?
Being gay.
Bam.
She accuses you of being gay.
That's the first thing that they go to in order to humiliate you, to try to emasculate you, or to call you gay. So all this shit, it's a crazy new world that we live in, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, where on one hand, they're so-called justice forward, but the most regressive and nasty type of motherfuckers when it comes to, dealing with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, wait a minute. Like, that's why, to me, it's just such a tragedy that, Kevin Samuels all of a sudden is gay now. Or, like, you too sensitive. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll start throwing epithets like basically, in essence, what they calling you is you a pussy. And they do that shit quite often, man. They do that shit quite often, bro.
They got to make it emotional. They have to make it emotional because they can't out-logic you. That is the game plan they're playing with. They refer to name calling to put you on the back pedal. It's about political correctness. And when you talk about the whole thing about equality for everybody, no, they want to be selective in who gets to be equal and who does not. It's like
it's about power and control.
Power control via the term. There's a term I remember. It was George Orwell the animal farm.
Exactly.
Some people are more equal than others. Think about that.
I said that. Yeah, I said that, man. Hey, I put that out there, man. Like maybe almost a year ago. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But
I
here's
didn't know.
the
That's
thing,
why I had
man.
to bring it up. So, but I see your point.
But you know, the strangest thing to me is, man, you know, like some of the most socially conscious people and most accepting people are black men, man. You know, we take anything on and we tolerate a whole bunch of shit. All we ask for is some love in fucking return. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn.
Do they do
can we
that
get our
to you?
flowers, man? Can we get our flowers for being like, out of all the men in the United States, Latino men, white men, I don't know about Native American men, but like black men are basically, when you take polls and shit like that, we're the most forward and progressive thinking in relation to all the other demographics of men.
The
But we
most
never get
lenient
credit for that
mating
shit.
standards.
But who's
Blacks
in
got the
control
most
of our
lenient
of your
mating
narrative,
standards.
sir? I'm sorry, but who's control of your narrative? That is the question. And while we're at it, I have to ask this question. Are black men in the United States considered complete whole men, or are they still considered 3/5 of a human being? I've always wanted to ask that question. Has that been amended or not?
On
You
paper
know,
it has, but psychologically, no.
Thank you for answering that question right there. Because here's the question I like to ask. And this applies to black men all over the world. Especially because they question our masculinity. Sometimes I ask the question, why? Especially when I once had somebody once said to me, "You're not a man." I looked at them and said, "Why the fuck should I care about whether or not you whether or not you recognize my masculinity when I know you are unwilling and incapable of acknowledging my humanity?" You understand what I'm saying?
yeah, I get it. You know, and that's the strangest thing, man, is that all of these people are requiring us to be the kind of men that they have ideals about, but at the same time doing everything that they can to try to stymie our ability to become the kind of men that we want to be. You understand what I'm
And
saying? So it's
demonize
like,
you.
yeah,
Absolutely.
Another
so
form of control, just another form.
Control
Absolutely.
and power. And the thing is, they'll call black men gay, as the first ad hominem attack, and then they'll also turn around and say that black men are the most transphobic. So which one is it? You saying that we're gay, but then that we also hate gays at the same time?
Look at it this way. And I remember Kevin Samuels addressed the whole thing about him being gay. He said, because I remember he said this on DJ Vlad, on an interview with DJ Vlad, he said, I don't remember his exact words. If he said, like, do you notice how whenever anybody gets called gay or anything, it's only homophobic, it's always homophobic. But when it comes to black men, it's no longer homophobic. It shows the alphabet folks are getting lazy on their responsibilities here. I thought they stand up towards homophobia. But when it comes
If
to a
they
black
truly
man being a
believe
target
you're
of that
gay.
shit,
He also said if they truly believe you're gay. See, people don't go after people that they consider flaming, like known and notarized in the gay community, but they like to assume and insinuate other people are gay, for like fodder and stuff like that. But they don't truly believe that. Look at the baby, how he had to backtrack when he offended actual gay people. But if they don't really believe that you gay, then they just use it as almost like a slur or a derogatory term because it's almost like the Me Too thing. Just the allegation alone could damage your reputation. So whether you're truly gay or not, just them hurling the allegation, then they'll find one thing where they say, "Oh, he did wear a pink shirt this time. Must be because he's gay." They'll find something
or
to
rainbow
confirm
shirt.
their bias.
Put an asterisk by your name. Yeah.
yeah, I did a show about that a long time ago, and my whole thing was, if Kevin Samuels is gay, so fucking what? You know what I'm saying?
Is anything he's saying wrong?
Yeah, like if he is, so what?
Yeah.
Right? And then you got a lot of black guys too also doing shows about who gay, who not. I'm like, why are you worried about who the fuck is gay and who is not?
Right.
Like, why are you worrying about policing my dick or anybody else's dick?
Right.
Or their vaginas, anything else? Like, why do you give a fuck?
Right.
And
Like,
why
at
you
the end of the
acting like
day,
you care? No, people act like they hate gays, but all of their designer clothes are from gays. Won't you stop wearing all that designer stuff since you so opposed to gays? So you'll wear designer clothes from gays, but let's just say Kevin Samuels was gay. 2 + 2 was 4, whether he's gay or not.
Say that. I was literally going to say, what does that have to do with 2 + 2 being 4? You took the words out of my mouth. Absolutely.
Excuse me, David.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I'm a dick. So I just want to be cordial to the asshole, first and foremost. Secondly, I just had to lighten it up. Secondly, like I thought, was it either you or who else talked about deception should be considered as rape? But here's my question: does yes mean yes laws apply to men in general or black men in particular? Or is it just for the women that they can do the yes means yes thing?
Only for the women. Dude, I just told a story not too long ago of a dude who woke up out of a coma from nearly 3 years with a kid. He got raped while he was in his coma. You know what he didn't say in there? But that woman went to prison. That's what he didn't say. And she likely didn't go to prison. The rules don't apply to us, apply to them the same way it applies to us.
It seems like all rules only
hence my argument about selective equality. They cherry pick what rights and what.
Yeah.
It's a double standard here we're dealing with.
It's really favoritism. Hidden under equality. Trojan horse.
Even how feminist groups be supporting the LGBT community. Only when it's to their benefit they'll do it. It's like No. If anybody might recall, there was a speech I remember going back. It was by H. Rap Brown about collectivism versus individualism. He warned black people about being co-opted.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I mean, he put it in a phrase when he said, "Listen, man, white people will co-opt dog shit if it's to their benefit. So only time they support these people is when they will co-opt them for their own benefit. Certain groups will do that.
That's right.
Others will not do that based on their principles."
Gigi says all the time. He talks about the concept of violence against women, and after I listened to one of your older ones earlier today, and it dawned on me that it should just be violence. Period. Why are you focusing only on violence against women?
Listen, let me piggyback that. Let me get that. I always say this. I say, when you hear a woman say, "No, shouldn't a man should never put his hands on a woman." Remember I said earlier, knowing you're being insulted. That's a direct insult, because by default, what she's saying is children and men can be hit, just not women. And if if violence is violence and nobody should be hit, then why do we need to differentiate?
Well, I'm gonna tell you.
But
what they've done is they built up this narrative about violence that fits them, such that they can. And I've told you what this is really actually about. Okay, when they came out with violence against women, and the person who started the shelter movement was Erin Pizzey, and she did this in Britain. Okay, and she realized that when she started the shelter movement, that over 2/3 of the women who were living in the shelters were just as violent as the men. And she wanted the shelter movement to be self-sustaining, so namely that the women who were in the shelters would run them themselves, and men would be allowed to be there, children would be allowed to be there, boy children as well as girl children. The feminists, the radical feminists in Britain came and co-opted what she had started, and it was big money associated with that, that whole movement. So they basically came and hijacked it from her, and they came up with this concept called battering women, okay, and women battering, as if the violence was always one-sided, right? And then you get Ellen Pence, who devised the Duluth model of domestic violence, a couple of decades or maybe a decade and a half later, and they just cooked this shit up. They just made it up. You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget the Black Ribbon movement. Don't forget the black ribbon. Was it the black ribbon or a white ribbon that came with that? Because in Australia they have that for the whole domestic violence issue.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's everywhere. But the whole point is, if you look at the social scientific literature, you know what it is. I've done too many shows on that. I could repeat it, but at the end of the day, I think that what David is saying, the asshole is saying, is right. Like, so what's implicit in the statement, you should never touch a woman? What's implicit in it is, don't ever defend yourself against a woman. A woman can strike you and you have no recourse.
Exactly.
You're supposed to tolerate it and deal with it.
And if you don't, you got to man up.
Right. Out for your way through it. Out for your way through it.
Listen, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. I've seen situations like that where I've actually been on the receiving end of something like that by a woman. I asked her, and I looked. That's the white girl. She did something to me, right? And her man is looking at, sees this. I just looked at him, and I had this sadistic smile on my face to tell him, get this bitch away from me before I do something we're all going to regret.
Right.
He just looked at me because I looked at him with a smile, and it was a sadistic smile, just letting him know, get her out of my face right now. Take her, please, before I have to do something. But what you're saying is true, because I've been on the receiving end of being slapped by a black woman once, and my brother had to restrain me. My brother stepped in and pulled me away. I was like 18, 19 years when this shit happened. He's a year younger than me. I said something. The next thing you know, they hear the smack. They look at me and they saw the fire in my eyes. And my brother had to step up and say, "Yo, back up. Don't," because he knew it was going to happen. This little 5'4" pain in the ass did that. But then again, it is what it is. But at the same time, to continue, but to pick up with the Aaron Pizzey thing, like they have emergency services in the hospital ERs for women who've been the victims of sexual assault, correct?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. I believe it was either 2015 or 2016 in Sweden. One hospital started, accepting male sexual assault male victims of sexual assault, where they can undergo the same, rape kits and whatnot. Boys, men, no matter what. And I remember in Norway, a case involving a immigrant victim, an immigrant who was charged with sexual assault on a local man, who was a politician, who was openly gay. And this person felt guilty because the perpetrator was going to be deported back to his country of origin, and he was Muslim. And where he comes from, homosexuality is punishable by death. I'm like, this dude committed a crime. I should stick up for him because he's black, but given the circumstances, no, I can't. Not because he's gay, but because what he did was wrong.
Right.
Now, if you're unless there's something else you're trying to say, or you're trying to cover it up, that's on you, man. That's on you.
Yeah, the only thing I think is, when black men do shit that's fucked up, be held accountable for it. When other demographics of people do shit that's fucked up, they're not held accountable for it. And that's what I have an issue with, man. If we're gonna really move into this equality thing, let's move into it. Let's not move into favoritism. Let's not move into, special groups get special privileges. And we, black men ain't never really asked for special privileges. We just asked for a fair shake. Right. We want to be included in what everybody else got.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We don't need special set-asides and shit. But everybody knows. And I'm about to get ready to close this off because I'm hungry as hell, dude. But it's the primary beneficiaries of all these policies, man, that was started related to the civil rights movement, man. First they went to white women. Then they went to white lesbian women. Then they went to white gay men. Then they went to, black women, black lesbian women. And so we're looking at all of this like, what the fuck happened?
Right. Gigi, let me ask you something right quick, then I'm going to go.
What happened?
Gigi, let me ask a quick question, quick one. Do you think, you said earlier, like everybody else, for most parts, are asking for special provisions, and I agree with you. We never do. We just want a fair shake. What I'm saying is, in the game of politics, maybe we should start doing the same things that they're doing. Maybe we should start asking for special provisions and favoritism. Maybe because again, I agree with you. We always just want a fair shake, but I see that's really everybody else who's asking for favoritism for most parts, to an extent, some shape, form, or fashion, gets it. Maybe I think I've always said this about us, and I'm gonna go. I salute you for letting me come on. Salute to everybody, but I've always said this about our people. I don't have a problem, if I could say, quote unquote, because I understand how this world really works. I don't really have a problem with racism. Now, I tell people my definition of racism isn't what most people would think. For me, racism is tribalism. I don't have a problem with tribalism. The only problem I have with tribalism is we're the only people not practicing it. On that note, I salute y'all. I'm going to go eat. Thanks for having me, Gigi. Salute to everybody on the panel. Great topic, Gigi. I appreciate you. I'm out.
Yeah, for sure,
Peace.
man. Thanks for coming by, man. You're always welcome to come by, man. Devin, you want to say some closing comments, man? Because I want everybody to get an opportunity to speak before it all closes out.
It was a great show, man. I mean, I think the whole thing has gotten weaponized, right? The whole claiming of minority status and claiming oppressed status has gotten weaponized, and somehow you're right. They've seemed to turn the weapons around and point them at us as though we are the oppressor, and this is just adding big insult to injury. And I'm glad my man Dave Chappelle stood up and said what he said. If I can, I just wanted to put a plug out for the Black American Party. I think it's time for us to speak with our own voice, and I put a platform up at blackamericanparty.com. But I really like what you got going here, man. I really like the fact that you're touching on this subject, because we do need to start speaking for ourselves and not allow ourselves, our identity as Black men, to be overrun by the neophyte, quote unquote, minorities.
For sure. Thank you, man, for coming by, bro. And I want to answer the asshole's comment, and then I'll kind of answer yours as well to some degree. It's tangential to what you said, but I mean, it's somewhat there. And thank you for coming through. But here's the issue. The state has imperatives. Okay, what are the state imperatives? Okay, all significant matters relating to national security, foreign policy, fiscal, monetary, and trade policy, the welfare state, civil and criminal justice, environmental and natural resource policies. That's at the core of the essential areas of state activity. Okay? Now, as it pertains to the politics of fucking, the state imperatives or the activities of the areas of the state do not have to be modified significantly or transformed to any significant degree. Because these people are not asking for restitution or reparation for previous harm. You don't have to deal with hundreds of years of oppression, violence, domination, cultural imperialism, and all other forms of areas of just subjugation. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is satisfy people with the politics of recognition. And that's what makes the difference between the racial struggles different from the politics of recognition related to the area of gender and sex. It's different. And this is why, the state and corporations are so quick to take on, moral grandstanding and virtue signaling in that area and domain. The price to pay for it is little, and then you get perceived as being somebody who's on the right arc of justice. And so that's why that's why we are where we are. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's much more difficult to redress the grievances of Black men than it is to redress the grievances of the LGBTQ community, whether it be white, Black, gay, white, Black, trans, or whatever. They're not asking for much other than recognition. Okay, but when you start to talk about Black, folks as a whole, or Native Americans, or even Jews, or whatever, you're dealing with an entirely different domain of injustice and the redressing of, historical injustices. That will require a lot more heavy lifting by the state and by corporations. work that they're not willing to do. Okay? So, in other words, we could try, but it'll probably be, an effort that'll fall on deaf ears precisely because the state would then have to modify itself in a paradigmatic way. And, the costs are high. That's why we keep kicking it. That's why we keep kicking the can down the road on the issue related to race. That's why everything has subsumed, the talking points of race without doing any justice to it. So that's me being a little bit professorial right there. Absolutely. I hope that didn't go over anybody's head, but social movements can be absorbed into the state. And when the movement has no threat to the state, well, the state is just going to absorb it and give tokens and offer up tokens so that community could be appeased. And this
like
is even happening with black
Cobra.
folks. Yeah, so
Yeah, because it doesn't cost them anything.
It doesn't cost much. Yeah. But yes, my brother. So I'll see you later, Devin. That motherfucker Wolf. Talk to us before we get out of here, bro.
All I can say is right now, this is an interesting conversation. I'm sorry I apologize for being late, but here's what it is. But I will say this, folks. Let me give you an example of my situation. First of all, I'm African, and I've had interactions with trans people, and they try to understand my experiences in their country because they're a little worried that if I've experienced racism and whatnot. And I asked them, "Do you know what is my plight?" And so I explained to them the Middle Eastern slave trade, given that I am from the eastern part of Africa. And then I asked them about the North Atlantic slave trade and asked them, do you know what buck breaking is? And when I explained what that is, I had no hope. I had no expectation. But if they realized what those concepts were, then they would understand what is black men's issue towards them, as if we do have an issue towards them. It's not we don't have, but those of us who come from actual traditional cultures don't mess with that shit, because to us that is associated with colonialism and such. But for as far as the United States is concerned, first of all, black men have to fight for their humanity to be acknowledged, accepted. But you have to be vigilant about that. With that, I say thank you, Gigi. You have a great day and a good evening.
Hey, man. Take care of yourself, that motherfucker. I'll let you, man. Come back next. Or come back some other time, man, whenever you feel the impulse.
It. Bye.
All right, take care, bro. Be easy, that dude.
What's up with it, Gigi?
What's going on, man? Leave us with some closing remarks. And,
Okay, cool. It was a great stream. I don't want to go back too much. I was trying to chime in earlier, but I don't want to bring up some redundant points. But so I'll just say, when it comes to the trans community, a lot of them are not talking about the dark side when they're saying like, oh, it's the deadliest year, right? They make it seem like, oh, it's just someone is attacking them solely because they're trans, right? A lot of them are being killed because they're black, and they're being seen as black people first, and then black men second, and then they find out later that they're trans women or whatever they identify. But that's not, they try to separate themselves, right? And that stat you read out of the 8,000 black men that died, they should be included in that too, but they want to be separate, but then also equal at the same time. Like, which one is it? And then black people are the most marginalized group in the entire planet. So you have subsections of the group complaining, about marginalization, when the stats are not even showing that they're being victimized, to the rate that they're talking about. And that leads me to my next point of the just the whole victim paradigm in general. I'd say there's victim politics that people don't practice enough, and a victim mind state. You don't need to be a victim necessarily to play the politics like the Stop Asian Hate. The narrative was that they were victims and there's black people just victimizing them. And what did they get out of it? A bill, some sort of bill, and they got over hundreds of millions of dollars for that. That's victim politics. But there's no, it's collectively Asians are not walking around feeling sorry for themselves as victims. But there are people with victim mind states that are saying, oh, bigotry is the reason that I'm failing. No, bigotry and racism is pervasive, but that's not the reason why you're failing, because you have that victim mindset. That's why you're not doing anything with your life. And if you were to play more victim politics, what is feminism? Victim politics. They're saying, oh, we were oppressed. We're victimized by the patriarchy. Stop Asian Hate. We're being victimized. LGBTQ. Pass some bills because we're victims. Japanese in reparations for internment camps, we were victims. Jews, Holocaust, victims. Like, all of this stuff is victim politics. It's just not painted. You know, people say victim Olympics, but that usually has a negative connotation to it. But victim politics, people should learn to be more adroit at playing it. Like, black people collectively have a victim mind state, but suck at playing victim politics.
All right, my brother, be easy, man.
For sure,
Catch
man.
you on the next one, man. Catch you on the next
Have
one.
a good one.
Take care, man. Big
All right.
Meech.
All right, man. So look, we're gonna have to. Black men are gonna have to move lawfully, using the law if we're gonna do this. Somebody needs to speak to attorneys if they want to get this stuff started, because when you look at the fact, and all we have to put is the numbers out there. Start with the numbers, right? So what is it? 73% of one-way violence, domestic violence, is started by women. 47% of bidirectional violence is started by women. They're by dozens of multiples of times. Black men are being killed compared with women. We get far fewer educational opportunities. There are far fewer, even if you just come down to leniency, the sentences for prison, they get far less time than we do for the same crime. We need to start putting these numbers out there in a legal manner, so that if they're turning something away, it's not just us coming to them sounding emotional. You get what I mean? Because right now, this is a last ditch effort we have right now. Technology is advancing so quickly, and the country is already topsy-turvy. It's already in a very, very fragile state, right? That they're only moving. Not only are they not addressing our current issues, they are making those issues worse and then creating newer issues for us at the same time. Because if you go back just 10 years, black men didn't have to worry about this public display of forcing transsexuals on them. We're getting new problems created, and those problems are going to be created even faster as technology advances. So if we're going to get on this, we have to go the legal route and then use the legal to make it political. That's all I got, man. Hey, I'll check you out next time.
All right, my brother.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later, my brother.
Yep.
All right, man. Peace up. And, look, let me just say this, man. I did this show because I wanted to have a conversation about the Dave Chappelle strike. And ultimately, what my thoughts were about it was that asking for corporations to fire people for hate crimes or using the state as a means by which to, issue civil rights claims against people who already come from communities that are historically, oppressed, is not really actually revolutionary at all. It's anti-revolutionary, if you ask me, because for every Dave Chappelle, it's, 10 to 20 million others, who don't have that kind of money or who are going to be the ones to suffer the effects of all of this so-called cancelization and, all of this so-called fight against hate. And if you do the research, you'll understand that we're among the most progressive people as it pertains to gender politics, as it pertains to racial politics. And so, it's anti-revolutionary. The tactics, I told you, black people, Native Americans, and Jews started this at a particular time in history, on the heels of Jim Crow, the Holocaust, and after, the colonization of the New World. They wanted to put an end to overt and institutional racism, anti-Semitism, and anti-Native Americanism. We're talking about groups of people who had deaths that could be tallied up into the number of millions. So what I want to say is that these tactics currently are toothless. And identity groups today that feed off of these old tactics are caught in moral highbrowism, and it doesn't really actually create solidarity, and it really actually doesn't create a really significant or a paradigmatic change in the structures that exist currently. What we've done is we've devolved into a virtue signaling public, and it's repugnant to me. People have written about this. We've discussed this and talked about this on this channel ad nauseum. But seeking to skim off the top of the justice struggle and considering yourself to be a champion of justice while attacking low-hanging fruit, it's not revolutionary to me. It's just not. Wielding the state to punish people and to cut their money off, that's oppression in and of itself. It just is what it is. And so, we got to keep pushing. And anybody, is welcome here. We got a trans person here. I don't, look, you can do whatever you want to with your body. You can come by the show any day as far as I'm concerned. I don't, but I'm going to tell the truth. Don't push your politics on anybody, any group, whether it's black women, LGBTQ people, whatever, white folk. Don't use your politics use us as a means by which to push your politics, by stigmatizing and stereotyping us. I'm just done with that, man. I'm done with that shit. Because when you look at it, man, every time you point your finger at somebody, man, it's 3 pointed back at you. It is what it is. Ain't nobody perfect. We all humans. We all trying to figure out, man, how to get through this struggle and how to have a life worth living. So having said all that, man, I'm going to holler at y'all later, man. I'll catch you on the next one, man. You feel me? Till that time, man, be easy, man. Peace.